Okay, third time is hopefully a charm. We shall see. So I'm loving these elevated discussions where I'm bringing in live here with you some interviews with some of the most phenomenal people I work with that are going to be keynote speakers at my Burnout to All Out live event. And today, who I'm trying to pull in for you is the woman behind the numbers, okay? It is no joke scaling a business from 0 to $1 million. Here she is in less than 19 months. I'm going to see if I'm on. As she is going to be, there she is. Yay! How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm so good. So excited to have you here and interview you today.
Thank you.
So you guys, this is Denai. I was just telling everybody that, it's no joke being in the digital CEO space and scaling a business, having no business background managing numbers at all.
Yeah, especially because, in this space, it can happen very fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is exactly what happened to me. So, what I would love to do today is I was just going to kind of share with everybody kind of the backdrop and how we landed together and really what amazing work you do for me. And just, and share, and then we can turn it over to you to really have you share with folks maybe some key important nuggets for financial management for the digital CEO.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what I want to share with you guys, and again, just to give you a little bit of backdrop for those of you who are new to my network, I launched a business a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, that went from 0 to $1 million in less than 19 months. Had I ever managed that type of cash before? No. I'd managed a checkbook for my house, but I'd never had to think about operating expenses, setting aside significant amounts of taxes, planning and forecasting for future investments in the community and the program. And I will tell you, when I first started, I tried to bootleg it. I tried to delegate it to my husband. Yeah. And my husband was like, "You're getting the quality of someone who's working for free for you," right? And that's when I was like, I need help managing this business, because the number one thing I had heard is that, like, one of the number one things that make businesses crumble is poor financial management of your business.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I brought Denai in, gosh, like a year and a half ago, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's been a while.
Yes. And she's an absolute expert. I handed everything over to her. Her team runs all my numbers every single month. They've been able to customize some things that are specific to my business, because I have people who are on the sales side who are commissioned based on the performance of the business. But she also sends me these phenomenal reports every single month, really almost every single week. I'm able to see, profit and loss and where we are and where we stand with where I'm investing. And it's been a phenomenal, what I will say, Denai, and then I'll turn it over to you, is having brought you and your team on board. Before having you on board, and maybe some of the entrepreneurs who are listening can attest to this, to me, it was just magic. Like, there was just money coming in and there was money going out, and it just worked out every month, right? It just, right? And I had no control. I didn't know how to project. I didn't know how to plan. I was literally a damsel in distress. Like, I was the girl who was like, I know how to make money, but I don't know what to do with it, right?
Once I got it, yeah.
So we brought Denai in, and what I want to say is, now I feel like the 7-figure CEO that I needed to step into becoming. And now I have a finger on the pulse of my business. Like, every single month, I know, based off my work with you, where we are, where we stand. And I feel in complete control, and I can project. I see for the rest of the year where our recurring revenue is, where I can invest every month, what I need to be setting aside for taxes. Where I'm going with this is I sleep a lot better at night, because I am in complete control and have a finger on the pulse of my business. So with that, Denai, first of all, just thank you, because you've done an incredible job, you and your team.
Thank you.
and Danae's going to be one of our speakers at our live event, talking about this. Yeah. So Danae, I just want to turn it over to you, and for you guys listening, feel free to pop questions in the chat that you have for her, because managing numbers in your business in the digital world is no joke. But I'll turn it over to you, Danae. What is it that you can just enlighten these digital CEOs on money management today?
So thank you for all of those kind words. That was really nice. And I'm actually very quick to Instagram Live. So you're going to have to tell me if somebody asks a question, because I don't even know. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to. So I think one of the big things that just misses in the entrepreneurial community is we definitely all tend to talk about fun things, right? So if we're an entrepreneur, typically we're creatives, we're right side of the brain. So we don't really want to sit down and talk about like the nitty gritty, right? We tend to be visionaries and dreamers, and we want to talk about the end result, but we're not really in the weeds, like dealing with what happens. Like we'll rely on teams, and it's just not our zone of the brain. So it's very common for most entrepreneurs to say, I'm not a numbers person. That's probably one of like the taglines I hear all the time from entrepreneurs is, I'm not a numbers person. And the biggest thing that I learned in my personal entrepreneurial journey is, if you don't know what's going on in your bank account, you don't know what's going on in your business.
Yes.
I think when we hear this idea of work harder, not smarter, right? It's this notion of just grind and hustle and grind and hustle. Well, usually a grind and a hustle is going to result in dollars in the bank account. But if you don't know how to manage those dollars in the bank account, you're not going to be successful. And I think one of the greatest examples of this is, how many times have you seen celebrities, athletes, like we're talking multimillionaires go belly up? So I think when we have this idea that money can fix our problems, money can't fix your problem if the problem is you. So you have to really take the time, even if you're not a numbers person, to understand how it works. And I think it really is a societal thing, right? Number one, people don't want to talk about money. It's like, it's faux pas to talk about money, right? So nobody ever wants to talk about money. And there's also, besides just feeling uncomfortable, you kind of don't want to admit that you're struggling to wrap your head around how it all works, right? And it's not taught in schools. And there's so much noise about it, right? And a lot of it goes back to like childhood. How were you raised? How was money discussed in the house? And there's also a lot of these notions around money being bad, right? Like that's a big thing in society. And I think something that we hear, I know something that we hear as entrepreneurs, if you're in it for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason. And that's awful. Yeah, of course you're in it for the money. If you weren't in it for the money, you would be doing a nonprofit. And if you're doing a nonprofit, that's great. But if you are a for-profit business, yes, you're in it for the money. Your initial thought process when you started your business was, I want to make money. Why you chose the path of the business, that's where your passion comes in, right? Like I could have made money selling Rodan and Fields or doing something else. Like I like to talk about money. I like to educate people about money. That's my passion, but I chose it to make money. And I think we've just created this environment where, number one, it's not safe to talk about money because every guru is going to hop on you and say, you're in it for the wrong reasons. You're in it for the wrong reasons. Listen, if you're doing something you hate for the money, yes, that's bad. But I think most of us have been smart enough to go over something we love, and we're here because we're passionate about it. And you can definitely see the differences between those who are light up about what they do and those who don't. But like, you're here for money. So you have to understand how the money works in your business. How is it moving in and out of your business? Your bank account will literally tell you the story of your business. But you have to read the book. You have to know what's going on. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs start as you, trying to do it themselves, which is great. Like at least you're knowing that it's important enough that somebody has to do it. But when you hit that point where you're really ready to scale and you know this isn't like a side hustle anymore, you've got to outsource or take it serious enough that you learn how to do it, right? Those are basically your two options. And I know we hear all the time, I'm not a numbers person, but what gets me is like, You probably weren't like a Facebook ads expert either, but you took the time and figured that out. At 2 o'clock in the morning, you're on YouTube trying to figure it out. And I think we just create these like mental blocks in our head. And it's funny because with entrepreneurs, I feel like we think we can do anything. And then you like talk about the numbers. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. So they'd rather just like hustle and grind and keep throwing money at this problem instead of really taking the time to understand. And like I said, there's 2 avenues. You hire and outsource, or you educate yourself, become empowered, and do it yourself. But either way, you have to sit down and figure out what's going on, because the first thing I'll tell you is if you don't have your numbers under control. So if you don't know what's going on in your bank account, number 1, you don't know what's going on in your business. But number 2, I would say 99% of the time, you're overspending somewhere. Yep. So whether that's, I didn't know I signed up for that trial and they kept charging me, right? I didn't realize that vendor debited me twice, right? And it doesn't mean that like your vendor did it mean, like it could have even just been an accident on their end, because they also don't have their money stuff together, right? Yep. So just knowing what's going on in your bank account just gives you so much knowledge and information. Or you might look through and be like, oh wait, I'm using that software, I'm paying for it every month. Actually, this software does the same thing as that one, so let me make, right? And now you really start making really smart strategic moves. And even taking it a step further with numbers, not just talking about finances, right? Like what we do with you, where we're actually looking at benchmarks and we're saying, okay, if we're expecting our team members to do this, how are we going to follow up, right? What you expect, you must inspect. So making sure that you're on top of it. So if you've got salespeople working for you, you should be able at the click of a button to know what are all their stats, right? And all of this stuff matters. And I think that a lot of times, just again, in the entrepreneurial community, we have shiny object syndrome, right? So a lot of times, I pop the hood, I get under, I know what's going on, right? So I can't tell you how many times that I call it the Empress has no clothes, because I will stalk their social media, I'll stalk their website, right? And then I pop the hood and get under, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and you just wouldn't guess it, right? You wouldn't, because on the outside, everything looks great, but it's like on the inside, they're losing money because they're making really bad decisions because they're not consulting the numbers before they make the decisions. Like your numbers give you the roadmap of what to do next. They tell you everything to do, but if you're not following them, you're wasting so much time, money, and energy. Yeah. So I feel like if we can spin the conversation more to make entrepreneurs know you work so hard, right? Number 1, admit that you're working hard for money. And then number 2, take the time to figure out, how does that work? The same time you sat down and figured out, I'm going to educate myself on LinkedIn. I'm going to educate myself on how to use Instagram. I'm going to educate myself on how to use social media. Why can't you do the same when it comes to money? It's because we're not putting that same value on it because we're embarrassed or it's faux pas, or, we don't think it's as important because society tells us we shouldn't be in it for the money.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And it's so good. And I know we just have 2 or 3 minutes left, but I want to make sure I just underscore, because the work you guys have done with me, because I just want to go back to, I was that girl. Like when I first brought Denai in, I was like, I'm not a numbers girl, right? But what I knew was I could not accept my husband telling me where my numbers needed to go anymore, because he had no experience in my business. But I was expecting him to be able to tell me where my numbers needed to go. And I was like, Melissa, if you want to step into this next level CEO and growth in your business, you have to become a numbers girl, or you have to hire someone who's a numbers girl to help you keep your finger on the pulse of the business. And where I'll land is working with you has allowed me to have so much financial confidence and confidence that it's because of working with you guys that I was able to actually invest in land this year, because I was comfortable drafting 10% out every single month, because I knew where the rest of the money was going. I knew what my operational expenses were. And so I can do these things with confidence and competence because I have worked with an expert like you and your team. We've got 1 minute before we have to wrap up. Denai, where can people find you if they want to work with you? They can't wait to get to the live event later in September and hear the entire workshop, but where can people find you?
That's where they can find me. I think you guys should definitely, if you're available, come to the live event. There's just something very different about being in a room, being on YouTube and Instagram and all that. That's all great. That's wonderful. But there is definitely, you kick it up a notch when you can actually reach out and touch the person. So I encourage all of you guys to come there. I'm going to be saving some of my best stuff. Like, you guys are going to walk out with tangible tips that you can walk out the door and implement in your business that day and see drastic results. Like, we're not going to be holding back. You're going to get really good stuff at the event. But if you are just sitting here today and want to connect, head on over to the Chic CFO on Instagram.
Yay! Awesome, awesome. And I know you're going to do a fun little activity. I can't wait to see you on the Yes. All right. Thank you. So awesome, Denai.
Thanks for having
me. See you.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.